Hello and welcome to ITV News Meridian.
Tonight's headlines in the southeast. The number of migrants crossing the channel this year reaches 40,000. Now a deal to cut back on the small boats.
It's not going to fix it overnight, it's not a silver bullet, but I think for the first time we have some real wins for both the French and the UK.
But even some Tory MPs fear it will not work.
The bottom line is we've got to do more to stop the boats leaving those French shores, and I don't think that what we've got in this agreement is going to really impact on that.
The £8 million upgrade that's led to long waits at a level crossing in Horsham. Network Rail apologises as motorists criticise the chaos.
Also this Monday evening, as the cost of filling up is still not coming down, we'll see what the effect has been on our local police forces.
And do you know how to keep your office and your boss away from your home life? We'll have a few tips to help cope with that work-life balance. Good evening. A new multi-million pound deal has been signed by the UK and France, which will see an increase in French border patrols.
2,000 more migrants crossed in small boats over the weekend, but the government hopes figures like that will become a thing of the past. Although, as Charlotte Wilkins now reports, spending money on border patrols hasn't previously worked, and some aren't convinced that it'll work now.
By working together, we will make progress in tackling this problem.
Confident claims from the Home Secretary this morning as she signed a new deal in Paris. A deal which has been months in the making. The new agreement, which will cost the UK an extra £8 million a year, will see a 40% increase in the number of officers patrolling the French coast from 200 to 300. And will result in British Border Force officials working on the ground as observers and inside French control rooms.
Well, it's a step in the right direction. I'm pleased that the politicians have now sat down and been able to thrash out an agreement which will enable us, our officers in the Border Force, to work closely with the French at operational level, because that's the best way to tackle this.
But some say it's not clear yet whether the deal goes far enough.
There is one phrase about the UK paying financially toward reception and removal centres in France. Now, if that means that the French are going to start to process the migrants that they intercept, rather than simply letting them go to try again, now that potentially could make a difference. In fact, it's probably the only element of this that will make a real difference.
So far this year, around 40,000 migrants have made the perilous journey across the Channel to the UK, with 26 boats crossing yesterday, carrying over 850 people. The charity Care for Calais says the government should be creating safer routes, not turning migrants away.
If the government was serious about saving them from people smugglers and saving lives, then they would give them a way to travel to the UK safely in order to make asylum claims. We are approaching the anniversary of the worst tragedy we have ever seen in the Channel. There has never been a more important time to urgently provide a way to save people's lives and stop them crossing the Channel in small boats.
Suella Braverman herself has said it's not a silver bullet, but hopes the agreement could be a foundation for more collaboration in the months ahead. Charlotte Wilkins, ITV News.
Well, the Conservative MP for Dover isn't impressed. She says the deal won't work.
But the Prime Minister says it's part of a series of policies which will bring the numbers crossing the Channel down.
Over then to our political correspondent in Millbank, Phil Hornby. Phil, not everyone is convinced this deal will make much of a difference.
No, that's right, Sangeeta. As we've heard, no one is suggesting that this is going to be a silver bullet that will solve the entire situation. The government think it will help, but as you say, the Conservative MP for Dover doesn't think it will.
Unfortunately, this latest agreement does seem to be more of the same. I was feeling more optimistic about some of the noises I'd heard before this agreement has been announced, but we haven't seen that radical step change that's needed. The bottom line is we've got to do more to stop the boats leaving those French shores, and I don't think that what we've got in this agreement is going to really impact on that.
Labour say the government should be spending more cracking down on the criminal gangs who are behind the migration.
We're actually just spending on French law enforcement rather than our own. If we did what Labour are proposing, which is investing in a dedicated national crime agency cell to combat that issue, then we're going to work with the French naturally on that, working upstream to get on top of the criminal gangs. So this isn't going to be enough, and it's only one part of the problem.
The Prime Minister's on the other side of the world at the Heads of Government conference in Indonesia, but as soon as he arrived, he was asked about this deal with the French.
I'm confident that we can get the numbers down, but I also want to be honest with people that it isn't a single thing that will magically solve this. We can't do it overnight, but people should be absolutely reassured that this is a top priority for me. I'm gripping it, and as I've said, in the time that I've been Prime Minister, you're already starting to see some progress with this deal with the French, but that's just a start. There's lots more that we need to do.
As people living in the southeast will know, deals with the French are nothing new. Have a listen to Labour's immigration minister hailing one exactly 20 years ago.
It's part of a much wider package of measures we've agreed with the French to secure the border right along the French coast and also involving Belgium.
That was 2002. I've lost count of the number of deals with the French we've had since then. Some of them have worked. Remember all the problems with people getting into the backs of lorries, crossing through the Channel Tunnel. So some have worked, but they tend to just move the problem elsewhere, from the Channel Tunnel to the small boats, which are proving a much tougher nut to crack.
Phil, thank you. Remember, you can find more news from right across the southeast and keep up with developments on that story by going to our website, itv.com/Meridian.
In other news, the leader of Kent County Council has written to the Prime Minister to warn it faces bankruptcy within 2 years. Councillor Roger Goff has said the council faces budget deficits of a scale that has never been seen before after 12 years of austerity. Fundamental changes in the way social care was funded, he said, were needed.
Arts organisations in East Sussex are set to benefit from more than £8 million of investment. Glyndebourne, the Delaware Pavilion and Hastings Contemporary are among those to be helped. The council says the cash will help to secure jobs and keep venues open.
A porcelain maker from Lewis has helped create an art installation now showing at the Palace of Versailles in France. Tanya Gomez made 20 pieces, which took more than 9 months to complete. They'll be displayed until February next year.
Network Rail has told ITV Meridian it's sorry after an £8 million scheme to modernise 2 level crossings in Sussex led to what people have described as chaotic delays.
Well, both crossings in Horsham were replaced with a system monitored by a person to boost safety. As the new manual operation beds in, it's led to some people experiencing long waits, as James Dunham reports.
When the alarm sounds and barriers fall, people are seeing red.
We were stuck here for 20 minutes waiting for the barriers to go up, and like today they go up and then come back down within seconds.
I've lived here for 16 years and I've never known traffic like it, and it's absolutely, impacting our lives no end at the minute.
It's ridiculous. There's another one. There'll probably be another one coming the other way.
Waiting times would never exceed 5 minutes, say drivers, and then in August the crossing was modernised.
It's not an upgrade, it's a downgrade. It was much better before. And it used to be easy to get around to the park, to wherever, and now you have to budget an extra 15 minutes because everywhere is chock-a-block.
Such is the frustration here with the level crossing that 1,500 people have signed a petition calling on Network Rail to take action. Got the barriers coming down now. I suppose when this happens, you're wondering how long am I going to be stuck
I
here
literally
for?
turn round. If I see the barriers come down, I won't come down here. I'll turn round and go somewhere else. Everyone's angry, really angry, because it's having so much effect on the community. And down the end, where you've got a roundabout, it all backs up. So traffic, who's not even coming this way, are getting backed up. I know someone that saw an ambulance waiting here for 15 minutes. That could be someone's life.
According to Network Rail, the crossings on Parsonage Road and at nearby Littlehaven Station were 2 of the most high risk in the country. Full-length barriers and improved CCTV have replaced the previous 50-year-old automatic half-barrier crossings similar to this, where people could ignore the warning signs and drive through. The new system is 18 times safer and now manually controlled 24/7 at the signalling centre in 3 bridges, with train bosses apologising for the disruption.
I'm I'm so sorry. I know how frustrating it is for motorists and pedestrians to be stuck. That really wasn't our intention. Our signallers have to balance off the risk both to pedestrians, motorists and to the travelling public using the trains. And that means that in the event that trains are going to pass through in quick succession, there often isn't time to safely lift the barriers and allow motorists to cross. That's why, although we've improved the barrier downtime since the new scheme went live, we still know there's more to do.
Next March, the platform at Littlehaven will be extended, meaning trains won't overhang the crossing. Network Rail insist barrier downtime will continue to reduce much sooner than that as people become increasingly weary of the waiting game. James Dunham, ITV News, Horsham.
A man has appeared in court charged with 2 attempted murders in Maidstone. Police were called to Station Road at just after midnight on Saturday. One man was taken to hospital where he remains in a serious condition. 29-year-old Anthony Deeprose of no fixed address will now next be seen at Maidstone Crown Court on December the 12th.
A man from Gillingham who repeatedly targeted a child for 8 years has been jailed for child sex offences. John Justin, who's 51 and of Wollaston Close, was sentenced to 12 years after pleading guilty to 3 counts of sexual assault. He's also been added to the sex offenders register for life.
You're watching ITV News here in the Meridian region. Coming up, keeping your home apart from your office in a world where 24/7 working is becoming almost the norm.
And the Huskies from Brighton who've taken on the world and come home with a gold.
Remember, you can find more of today's top stories by going to our website, itv.com/Meridian. You can call us. The numbers on your screen now is 0808 1010 095. And remember, you can follow us on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram.
Now, an independent study shared exclusively with ITV News has revealed that 2/3 of people over the age of 50 expect to experience age discrimination when they search for a new job.
The report says employers need to make positive changes to tackle age bias. With more, Kit Bradshaw.
Switching off from the world of work at 60 was never in Siobhan Daniels' career plan. But family bereavements, the menopause and attitudes she faced as a broadcast journalist in Kent left her feeling there was no other choice.
In the workplace, I felt marginalised and voiceless, and I went into the toilet one day at work and I just broke down and I was sobbing and I just thought, I can't do this anymore. I need to find another way of living. I need to get out of this. So that's when I first started thinking I need to retire at 60.
And do you feel ageism played a big part in how you were feeling at work at the time?
Definitely, definitely. I felt totally disrespected as an older, more experienced member of the staff.
And according to new research, such an experience is all too common. A report out today found that 30% of those retiring felt forced to do so, while 65% of over 50s believe their age is a barrier when applying for a new role. And 70% feel it's difficult in your 50s to change career. Earlier this year, Boots was one large employer recognised for its work recruiting and retaining older staff.
Making sure that we have a workforce that is representative of the broad range of ages of people and people at all stages of life that we serve every day is really important to us. More than 25% of our in-store workforce is over the age of 50.
Age is just a number, according to many of those we spoke to in Crowborough.
If you have got the ability to, want to learn new skills, then any job's open to you.
My husband, who's 65, still working, but he loves what he does. And he's fit and healthy. So as long as you have your health and you've got a lot to give for the workforce.
I work on a farm. I'm a herdsman. And I'll be still doing it in my 80s, I expect.
When Siobhan retired from journalism, she swapped her flat for this camper van, which she now uses to tour the country speaking and writing about ageism.
Don't be afraid to speak out. And women need to speak to women more about what is the reality of going on in the workplace.
The Equality Act offers a number of protections against discrimination, and those with concerns are advised to seek independent advice. Kit Bradshaw, ITV News, Crowborough.
And in response, Siobhan's former employer, the BBC, said they take the welfare of staff seriously and have a zero-tolerance approach to bullying. They said, "We have robust processes in place for staff to raise concerns."
Now, the ITV Evening News continues after us, of course, with details about what's coming up on their programme this evening. Here's Mary Nightingale.
Coming up on the programme, the new British-French deal to try to fix the migrant crisis. More money, more patrol officers and more collaboration. But will this do anything to stop the crossings to Dover? Ronaldo's shocking claims against Manchester United and how the club has responded.
Jolene, 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 I'm begging of you, please don't take my man.
And why Dolly Parton's getting $100 million of Jeff Bezos' money. Join me for those stories and more at 6:30.
Police fuel bills have soared by tens of thousands of pounds this year as the cost of living crisis tightens its grip. A few months ago, petrol prices rose to record levels of £1.91 per litre and for diesel £1.99.
Well, now, Freedom of Information requests by ITV News have found that over a 6-month period, forces in our region spent over £37,000 more on petrol and diesel than they had done previously. Chloe Oliver has been finding out more, and a warning that her report contains flashing images from the start.
Good evening. Hi there. That's all right. Nothing at all to worry about.
It's another busy night for officers as they work to keep our community safe.
Car that just went past got defective headlights. Unit, we're out 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, patrolling the roads, looking for any offenders or offences being committed on the road, responding to incidents. On average, on our department, we'll drive anywhere from 100 to 300 miles per shift, and that's daytime and obviously during the night.
With the cost of living and the rising cost of fuel, how important do you think it is that you do have that presence and the public can see you driving around?
We want to reassure the public that we are out there, and that's why we are out actively on the main strategic roads of the county, where hundreds and thousands of drivers use every day, and they will see us.
Well, we've just arrived back at the police headquarters after going out on patrol with the roads policing unit, and we've seen numerous instances of people with poor driving, especially under the conditions. It's a cold, dark and wet November evening. Now, it just shows the importance of our frontline policing, but what is the cost to our forces? Police in the southeast who responded to our Freedom of Information request spent £37,000 more on fuel in a 6-month period. To take just one force as an example, Sussex's fuel bill is now more than £2 million, the equivalent of 68 new police officers. The nearby force of Kent have told me they're also experiencing rising costs.
There is a cost pressure, you can't hide from that. We have done a lot of work to drive that down, and we have to be specific and we have to be quite targeted in where we have the cars fueled up. It's not just the nearest petrol station, it's the one where we can get the best value for money with the resources that we have. So there is a minor consequence for that, but ultimately it's about protecting the taxpayer as well.
The tight squeeze on the police purse is something that's been felt across the country.
There needs to be a proper centrally funded budget from central government to make sure there isn't a postcode lottery of funding, so that officers and chief constables can make proper decisions about how they buy fuel. Can they buy it in bulk? Can they store it? Can they have a long-term agreement with a fuel provider to make sure that they can get the fuel at a good rate, to again allow us to do our job and look after the public properly?
The government is all too aware of the problem and says although it doesn't set prices at the pump, they've offered support measures of up to £22 billion. And in March, they announced a 5p per litre cut in fuel duty. The cost of filling up shows no sign of coming down, and neither does crime. Police forces we've spoken to say they've increased their budget for fuel, which means we won't be seeing any less of these in our towns and cities. But reserves only last so long, and decisions on where the extra money for fuel will come from is yet to be seen. Chloe Oliver, ITV News.
Now, a quick question for you. Today is Monday, obviously, back to work after a couple of days off over the weekend. How many times did you check your work emails over the weekend that's just gone?
Well, not that many, to be honest. Maybe a couple of times.
Yeah.
I
me
remember
too.
getting one from Grace, and she normally kind of summarises the weekend news, which is always useful for our job. But that's
you kind of need that.
But didn't reply to many either.
I noticed.
How many times did you do it?
About the same, actually.
About the same.
Couple,
Yeah. It's just general. We're lucky here. But it seems that technology companies are now working harder than ever to give us more ways to filter out the work when we're off duty.
Yeah, it's no longer all about making sure that our phones and tablets can do more and more things. Increasingly, they can help us maintain a better work-life balance as well, as James Webster has been finding out.
Feeling stressed, never off duty, always at work, even when you're not in the office. They are common feelings which make many people worry their work-life balance isn't right. This part of Maidstone is full of offices, but when people leave for their lunch or even to head home, how often are they still dealing with work while away from their desk?
I don't have my work email synced to my phone, so I've made a purpose decision to my work email address I have to actively log on. I can do it via the phone, but rather than like my personal ones that just ping through, all work-based emails go to my work email address.
I do check them in my own time, and don't feel great about it. I think the culture we live in, everything's quite rushed, that it's not great for us, because then it struggles with the work-life balance.
I think that it's a part of life. Like now, you can't live without it. So it's just a routine, I think, and it's using and increasing day by day. Yeah.
And sometimes it's the technology we have in our pockets that's part of the problem. It's like carrying the office around with us. Let's face it, we all have at least one smartphone. Chances are your work emails are on there. Maybe not just emails, WhatsApp groups, Slack channels, calendar invites, video calls. Even when you're not at work, the notifications keep on coming. But it seems tech firms are now realising there are times we want all that to vanish when we want to switch off.
And you can filter accounts and mail and events and calendar.
Many of the latest phone handsets have the ability to switch off specific email accounts at different times, even making it automatic when you walk out of the office door. And technology companies recognising the need for those options is a significant development, according to the author of this book.
What I've seen technology companies doing is, in some cases where the choice was already there, they've made the choice more apparent. If you feel like your workflow is good and you have good boundaries and you have great email practices, there's no reason for you to feel pressured to use these tools. These tools are really for the people who feel stuck and they feel like they have a problem. So if you feel like you're bombarded with email, if you get worried about getting those messages late at night, I would absolutely recommend people start looking into how to use those tools.
A recent survey found more workers value their jobs because of the work-life balance it gives them rather than the salary, a trend which has changed since the pandemic. And according to this business expert, it is just one of a series of changes to our working habits.
The work is changing, the workforce is changing, and the workplace is also changing, and the way we work is no longer the same. So, for example, the options of 4-day working week. In the UK, we're expecting positive sign in terms of that. We're talking about flexible working hours. We're talking about part-time working. We're talking about job sharing. We're talking about freelance work taking over full-time work on a large scale. So with those sort of shifts, I think technology will prove to be a major force to help us achieve work-life balance even better.
While our devices can make us better connected, just because we can access work at our fingertips any time of day or night, doesn't mean we should. James Webster, ITV News.
Well, let's talk about sport now. Not much chance of Sarah not checking her emails over the weekend because it's just too busy. Good evening.
Thank you, Matt. Well, the World Cup in Qatar starts this weekend, which means no Premier League games for 6 weeks. That may mean no top flight matches until Boxing Day, but as Andrew Pate reports, Brighton's manager is set to be very busy during the break.
Zero Accounting Software sponsors ITV Regional Sports Report.
There's no World Cup break for our Football League teams. Crawley Town further distance themselves from the foot of League Two. Victory over Barrow, completing a hat-trick of home wins and earning Ashley Nadeston a 5th goal from his last 5 league matches.
Gillingham are just 1 point and 1 place above the League Two relegation zone, and they had no answer to 3rd place Northampton. The Gills following up their Carabao Cup heroics against Premier League Brentford with their 6th league match without a win.
Well, Gillingham can put their league form to one side tomorrow night for their FA Cup replay with National League North side AFC Fylde. The teams drew level earlier this month, with the Priestfield replay deciding who will progress to a second round tie at Dagenham and Redbridge. Meanwhile, in the National League, Ebbsfleet United, who are looking forward to their own historic second-round cup tie at home to Fleetwood Town later this month, suffered defeat to Tonbridge Angels in the National League South at the weekend. Victories, though, for Maidstone and Southend in the National League. And finally, from me, congratulations to Matt Hodgson from Brighton and his Huskies, Ava, Lux, Nimis and Pride. They've just won gold at the Husky Racing World Championships in Belgium. 189 competitors from 20 countries took part, Matt and his friends winning in the 4-dog 2 category. Next up for the team, known as Infury Sled Dogs, is the World Sled Dog Association on Snow World Championships, which take place in Italy in February. Well done to them. They make a good team, don't they?
They do, well done. But I was expecting to see snow there.
Sadly not, no.
Sadly not. Sarah, thank you very much. How interesting.
Absolutely. No mention of England winning the T20 World Cup
Oh.
yesterday. Obviously, why would we mention it? It's not a local story, but I thought I would just mention it because I loved
brilliant.
it.
Yeah, it's great. Great news, England. Congratulations to all cricket fans like Matt.
Yes.
Let's get to your weather forecast now with all the details. Here's Sally Williams.
Feels like home, whatever the weather. Valent Boilers and Heat Pumps sponsors ITV Meridian Weather.
Hello there, a very good evening to you. Hope you had a lovely day after that misty, murky start. It was quite romantic though, I think you'll agree. We've got some showery rain around this evening and then wet and windy overnight into tomorrow with some blustery showers following on behind. Maybe a tiny bit of sunshine in the mix though. So let's take a look at what's going on. We've got low pressure firmly in charge, that is feeding in these fronts. So that's the one bringing that rain tonight and tomorrow. Unsettled into Wednesday as well, and in the wings, the next system, wet and windy conditions later on Wednesday. Keep an eye on the forecast for the timings of that. So this evening, a bit of showery rain out there, passing through eventually to give us some clear, drier spells for a time. But don't be fooled. Behind it, we have got that rain moving in. So a bit of a damp end to the night in some areas, certainly cloudy anyway. And not too chilly overnight, but we are going to see the winds picking up and it's not going to be a beautiful start to the day. You can see that rain moving in as the morning progresses, falling on damp ground already, so there could be some surface water on the road, some tricky driving conditions. It does clear off out of the way eventually, but behind it still a few blustery showers moving through and breezy tomorrow, so that will take the edge off those temperatures, just feeling a little bit down on today. And if you've got plans for the evening, well, I'm afraid I can't guarantee it's going to stay dry. We have still got a few showers in the mix. Now, our high tide times, let's take Dover, 2:39 in the morning and 14:58 in the afternoon. So the outlook, as I said, unsettled for Wednesday. Watch out for that wind and rain later on as well, and probably calming down as we move into Friday. That's it. Take care. Cheerio.
Valent sponsors ITV Meridian Weather.
And that's it from us for this evening. Mary Nightingale is up very shortly with the national and international news, and I'm back with your late update just at around 10:30 tonight.
Oh, that's a good time this evening. Well, that's it from the team at ITV Meridian. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll all be back here tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.